With us tonight, we have Chris Pratt, Chair, Dennis Clark, Coordinator, Gene Nilsson, Secretary, members Met Mazzanaglu, Brian Drennan. We have Jerry Patria, Brian Pranka, Marissa Cook-Obregon. And that's it for members tonight. Okay. Is there anything you want to bring us up to date on, Dennis?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that automatically you're muted when you come on to Zoom now, so you're going to have to unmute yourselves when you want to talk. But if you want to just get to the minutes, we got 2 sets of minutes to go over tonight.
Okay.
To approve.
Why don't we do that? Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? If anybody's ready to make a motion, you may. It's nice to have the minutes ahead like we've been getting.
I'll make a motion to accept both minutes, unless anybody else has found something.
With no changes? What?
0. I went over them twice, Gene.
I know, we get them early enough to look at them fairly well, so.
Ooh, do I get a raise?
Sure.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Roll call. Yep. Brian Pranka.
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obregon.
Aye.
I myself. I think that does it.
No, Jerry.
Jerry Patria. Sorry.
Aye.
Aye as well. Okay. I have to figure out a way I can see everybody's face at once so I don't get confused.
Well, if you want to try to get, we got a few minutes to get in before the first hearing. So you want to do the annual dock removal variance renewal request, 101 Lakeview Street. We've been having that on the agenda for quite a while. We're waiting for Norm to get back to us on the recommendation from the Lake Management Committee.
Well, he's here tonight. Maybe he can give us some input. Norm, do you have any input from LMC?
Yes, I do. We did discuss that. We had people that went and visited the dock with permission from the owner. And we believe that we should approve the request and state that when it's time to be replaced, it should be replaced with a seasonal removable dock.
Okay.
And we voted unanimously to approve that.
Yeah, I kind of am on the same page with that. I've been by it a few times this winter, ice fishing.
You want to take a vote on that, Chris?
Yep. Well, somebody has to make a motion first to. Don't you have to? Yes, unless Norm is making a motion for us. I'll make a motion for it to become a seasonal dock after this year. Okay, Matt, what do you say?
Second.
Sorry, we didn't have a second, but now you are. Thank you, sir. Brian Drennan.
I agree.
Jerry Patria.
Aye.
Brian Pranka.
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obregon. Okay.
Aye, sorry.
That's okay. I read your lips. So it's unanimous. So we'll make that so. Okay.
We go over some new business. The budget hearings are scheduled for March 20th at 8:30. We get 5 minutes on the agenda.
Just as a caveat to that, they will be held via Zoom, and they're arranging the Zoom meeting information now. And when that becomes available, I'll forward it to you.
Thank you very much. You're all welcome to show up if you'd like.
John, are you with us? John Goddard?
I see his picture there.
There he is.
Yep.
John and I sat in on a meeting with Randy Brown because he's redoing the stormwater bylaws. When they were done originally, there was a lot of things left out, and it was put under the building department, and it really should be under the DPW. And John could explain a little bit better, but he's just looking to make sure the Conservation Commission supports him. It's got to go to town meeting. And I told him, we have a lot of interaction with the stormwater, and there's a lot of confusion the way it's set up. So I believe this is going to make it a lot better. But John, if you want to just give a quick spiel on that, we could.
Sure, we'll give it a shot. Quick. It's going to be tough then.
No, well, take your time then.
The big picture is that this is all part of the town's stormwater discharge permit through the EPA and administered in part through Mass DEP. As part of our compliance work, we go through, each town goes through their erosion sedimentation bylaws with an eye towards updating performance standards and also making sure that, administratively speaking, things are set up correctly. Dennis mentioned that right now, one of the enforcement authorities is the building inspector. And I think we all can appreciate that TPW's work as well as conservation's work, those two things tend to go hand in hand when it comes to stormwater. So TPW absorbs that part of the administrative responsibility. Conservation's interaction in terms of how stormwater permits are signed off, that's not going to change. But we're really moving that section of the bylaws out of zoning so that it's its own standalone. There's no question about when it's applicable. Similar thresholds will apply. New stormwater regulation, a new stormwater regulation is being developed as we speak, so that we can better design for the set of data that's coming forth for rainfall events. So most of this is an update to conform with the guidelines, but also to realign how within the town's bylaw this is all set up.
All right.
Thanks, John. I appreciate all your help. Appreciate your help with it.
Anytime.
And like I say, I'm sure the Conservation Commission will be happy to back Randy up on these changes. It's going in the right direction.
They're definitely welcome changes.
One more quick thing while we got another minute left. I think I let everybody know about 258 Feeding Hills Road, that malicious farm.
Yes.
It is there's the three, I believe there's 2 or 3 pine trees out towards the road that are near the brook that are diseased or dying. He wants to remove those and replant something else. And he wants to also repair his brook crossing. He's got a couple of I-beams that will span the brook, so it won't, there'll be no impact. But he does have a management plan. He's got an NRCS conservation plan for agriculture that was approved. It's been in front of the commission before. And I believe these things are all in the plan, and he doesn't have to, they're exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act, I believe. If anybody has any doubts about that or they want to investigate it a little bit more, let me know. And I'll send them a copy of the conservation plan if they're interested.
No, I remember, how long ago? Was it 10 years ago when he came before us the last time? It was pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think it was 2010 maybe.
Yeah. So
let me get the legal. The first one you don't have to read because it's a continuation. It's 710 is 78 Berkshire Avenue. Yep. And Ryan Nelson.
The single family home with site improvements. And we have Ryan, who's going to talk to us about that, I believe.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates. As stated, this is a continuation for 78 Berkshire Ave. This is a vacant wooded lot that the applicant, Mr. John Hancock, is proposing to build a home at. We had done a site visit a couple weeks ago, and some concerns were brought up. One, over the impervious surface area from the roof and the patio of the proposed residence, as well as some of the tree cutting that was going to be conducted at the rear of the home down near the lake. So we've identified by survey trees located within the buffer zone. So all these trees shown here, called out within the limit of work, are to be removed. I think some of you saw there was a sparse area located on the right-hand side down near the lake that was full of invasive bittersweet vines. We're proposing those to be removed, and a handful of tree saplings to be planted in that area, as well as some landscape plantings along that path that was going to come down to the water. There were a couple maple trees along that, approximate to that shared property line with the abutter, that were broken off at the top and not in the greatest shape, but still living and healthy. Those would come down within the limit of work, but we're proposing to replant some newer oak tree saplings in replace of those. As far as the stormwater concerns, we have subsurface infiltration chambers located in the yard here, as well as here and here, to catch roof leader runoff from the house, as well as the detached barn over here. Those are sized to handle up to the a 1-inch rainfall event. Aside from that, we also changed the proposed dock will be a seasonal floating dock as compared to a permanent dock that was originally proposed. Just to reiterate, the property does have bordering land subject to flooding down near the lake. This heavy dashed line is the 100-year flood zone elevation, a contour of 229. We won't be doing any fill or regrading in that area. It'll just be the clearing of trees within this limit of work, de-stumping, and just smoothing out pretty much with the material that's there. The last item that was brought up at the site visit was the patio. And Mr. Hancock introduced the idea he would like to see a landscaped island within the patio. So the patio is going to be pitched towards the interior of this kind of like a bioretention area within the patio, so that no sheet flow is leaving this patio and going down the slope to the lake. I think those hit the major revisions, and happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
I think it looks great. I think you did a fantastic job in the revisions, and they addressed every single concern the commission had.
Right.
I guess the only question would be is, you know, how much of a bond you'd want to post on it, or how much the commission would want posted on it.
Well, we usually do the 10,000. I mean,
10,000
private on a one building lot with a private landowner. So that would be my recommendation. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Or
that's a standard bond anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So why don't we go with that?
Yep.
You want to close the hearing?
Yep. I'll take a motion. Say NOI?
NOI.
Yes, I couldn't see my other screen, so.
Ryan, can you close that? Thank you.
Thanks. I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Okay.
Second that.
Jerry Patria?
Yep. Aye.
Brian Franca?
Aye.
Brian Drennan?
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obregon? Okay, that's unanimous. Now I'll take a motion on the project. Find the project negative. We'll have our standard erosion controls in place and everything, so I don't really have to I'll make a motion to find the project negative. I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Brian Drennan's a second. Matt.
Aye.
Jerry.
Aye.
Brian. Franca.
Aye.
Marissa Cook Obregon.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, very good.
Yeah, that was a worthwhile site visit that the commissioners had to be able to address all those issues, and I think it's going to be a great project. The next meeting, the next hearing, Chris, is a continuation, so you don't have to read any legal ad for
100 Berkshire Avenue, proposed tree removal and buffer and grading with portions within the borderland subject to flooding. And is that Jeremy again?
Yep, Ryan from RLA again. Last time we had spoke and talked about this project, we were originally proposing, share my screen here. We were originally proposing to repair and improve this eroding steep slope that's in the backyard of Mr. Cheever's property. You can see the slope is here and that kind of gradually flattens out, and there's a kind of a grass lawn bench before the actual bank of the lake. And it's kind of like an incised ravine that's starting in this area here. You can see these existing contours. We were originally proposing to kick the base of that slope outwards and then fill to make a more consistent, gradual slope and reduce the percent grade of that slope. The problem that being it was within bordering land subject to flooding, which is shown as this heavy dashed line right here. So we ran into some complications with available comp storage on site due to the slope and the trees and grading. So instead, we came up with a different solution, and that is to install a relatively short 4-foot retaining wall at the base of that slope, upgrading of the flood zone elevation. So no fill within the flood zone. And then from the top of that wall back, we would fill as shown as these proposed grades. And then as before, keeping consistent with installing shrubs and anchored boulders into the slope, landscape fabric, and then topped with 4 to 6 inch angular riprap stone to stabilize that slope area. So the idea is to create a landscaped planter bed as compared to a kind of a leaf litter forest floor that's undermining and eroding all these trees. Did add a second detail sheet showing a schematic of a typical retaining wall, a precast engineered retaining wall that interlocks together.
Okay.
So all in all, the wall is approximately about 1.5 feet wide, or depending on the type of wall system they choose, but lengthwise it will be around 48 feet. Bottom of the wall, an elevation of 229.5. The flood zone elevation is 229. Top of wall would be 233.5 roughly. And then filling from that point upwards to tie into the existing lawn at the backyard of the home.
Okay.
So that covers the revisions. The tree removal stays the same. We really just substituted fill within the flood zone with a proposed retaining wall instead.
That seems to have taken care of the problem that I had anyway. Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
I think the retaining wall is a good solution. I'm glad it went in that direction.
I did something similar. So I was.
Yeah, I think Chris suggested that at the last meeting, and
it's a good move, I think.
Appreciate the cooperation on that.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay. You can unshare, Ryan. I'll take a motion if anybody has a motion.
Do you want to do the same with the bond, Chris, the $10,000 bond for that?
Right. This is also an NOI, so I need a motion to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
I'll second.
Second.
Brian Drennan. We have a motion to close the hearing. Brian, what do you say?
Aye, sorry.
That's okay. Mamet?
Aye.
Ryan Franca?
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obergen?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous for closing the hearing. And we have a motion on the project. Okay, I'll make a motion to find the project negative.
No. It's a.
All right. I forget. Make a motion to accept the plan for 100 Berkshire Avenue.
I'll second.
Brian Dren's a second. Mamet?
That's with the 10,000 bond?
10,000 bond, yes.
Yep.
Okay, Jerry Patria.
Aye.
Brian Franca.
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obergen.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norm.
Thank you, everyone.
You too. Okay, we have a continuation now for 115 Fred Jackson Road. Proposed construction of a single family dwelling with other site improvements, a portion within the buffer zone. Okay, Ryan, whenever you're ready.
All right, sorry about that. I wish I could keep the approvals rolling on this one, but this is a continuation. We are still waiting on a determination from NHESP. We have revised the site plans. I can give you guys an update on a couple changes. We had Rob, myself, and Kevin had a nice conversation with NHESP last week on some of the things they were looking for as part of their review of this project. One being the house layout has tweaked a little bit. There's going to be a walkout basement on the left-hand side shown here. So that extends the limit of work down that slope. For those that were at the site visit, if you guys remember looking in one of those test pit holes, that was kind of off to the side. So that would be kind of the direction in the work area of where that walkout basement would go. We added a proposed bioretention area right here towards the front lawn area alongside the driveway, and that would collect the rainwater from the roof leaders. So we've modified the limit of work a little bit. It used to be proposed along this tree line here. We've kicked it out about 15 or 20 feet or so down the slope, and that will be a cut into the existing slope to tie those grades into the walkout basement elevation. Then the other change was NHESP asked for information for proposed lot C, the conventional lot C, which is going to be, it's a proposed lot that'll be divvied up from this parent parcel. We originally were showing a limit of work along the NHESP habitat boundary, but as part of their conditions, they were requesting that that boundary be monumented and then beyond that not to be disturbed for the remainder of the property unless another review is conducted. So this is currently an existing hayfield. They want to continue to use it as that. So just for procedural reasons, we showed the limit of work along that existing tree line so that the Solex can continue to use that property as it has been. So NHESP is reviewing these revised plans and hopefully we will get an answer from them before the next meeting. But happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Otherwise, we'd be requesting a continuance for the next meeting.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So,
is anything happening with that crossing that we saw that was coming into the lot?
This area here?
Yeah, that area.
So there was a forestry management plan for this property. This is a logging road that was used to forest the rear portion of the property. We're not quite sure to what extent wetlands were filled, if any, in that area. So judging by the topography and kind of those existing adjacent wetland lines, we're assuming that whole area was wetland as a conservative approach. And then we'd be replicating that up here.
Okay. Okay.
all right. All right. So make a motion to continue this project to the next meeting. When is the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to continue 115 Fred Jackson Road.
March 15th.
Huh?
March 15th is the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So March 15th.
I'll second.
Brian Drennan, second. I'm in favor. Jerry Patria.
Aye.
Brian Pranka. Mr. Cook, Obregon.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. It's continued to March 15th.
We're a little ahead of the agenda, believe it or not.
I just looking at 7:30. It's the next item.
Let's see.
Okay. The Southwick Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Law C-131, Section 40 of the Southwick Conservation Commission Regulation and Bylaw, Chapter 182 and Chapter 450 for notice of intent. Proposed location is 56 and 56A Berkshire Avenue, map 138, parcels 89, 88, and 89. Proposed project is to renovate the existing residence and garage at 56 Berkshire Avenue, along with several site improvements, including the replacement of several field retaining walls, portions of which are within the BLSF, and the meeting will be held via Zoom right now. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Just so we're all on the same page, I'm taking off my DPW hat for a moment and put on my consultant hat. And for the record and recording, John Goddard here tonight with Eve Crampton for her project over on Berkshire Avenue. Let's give us a little context here. Let me see if I can share a couple items from my screen. And that one, let's grab these. Okay. 56 and 56A are on Middle Pond. This is White Street down below. And right after the terminus, we have two properties. The frontage on Berkshire Avenue on one side, Middle Pond on the back. Both are served through a common driveway. This is number 56, identified as lot 89 on this the screen here. And the site where most of the work's taking place is going to be on lot 88, with the garage closest to Berkshire Avenue and the house down below. This for, whoop, oh my gosh, there we go. A little bit of an idea. This is that common drive leading down below. If you're driving along Berkshire Avenue, what you really see at this site is the roof of the garage. We've got a pretty good change in topography. Calculated roughly 42, 43 feet, if you will, from the street down to the lake down below. But you can see the house in the distance and the garage up very closely. Take a flip over to the survey plan, get any of the existing conditions. There's that common driveway that comes on down. 56 over here on the left side of my plan, west side, and 56A with the garage and the house. 56 is included in this application. There's a small amount of work, as I think we all can appreciate down by the lakes. A small amount of the work related to House 56A lies on House 56's lot. In this case, it's these three retaining walls. I'll show some pictures in a few moments. These retaining walls essentially take care of some of the topographic changes from the front yard, we'll use that term, down to the backyard, which is really the more functional space. But they extend over onto the property next to an access stairway for House 56. Having said that much, that is the extent of work that's proposed on that particular parcel. We'll be focusing really on the house with the garage and the house to be renovated. The driveway is a crushed stone access way, both up to the garage. It's actually on all points, but nonetheless, and that's a bit of a stormwater concern. You can see that there's an existing riprap swale. A little informal construction gesture that the previous owner put into place. That's something we're going to touch upon shortly in terms of how we're going to improve that situation right there. Otherwise, we have a series of steps, landings, and decks that handle this transition from, if you will, the driveway terrace, if you will, down to the second floor terrace, then the first floor terrace, and then finally the backyard down below. As was mentioned in the public notice, jurisdiction on this project is borderline subject to flooding at elevation 229. We'll see that a little clearer on the design plan versus what we have here. And buffer zone for the project as well. Buffer zone extends, frankly, to encompass the parking area next to the garage and a small portion of the garage. Let's take a look at some of the pictures so we can take a look at the existing vegetation condition at the site. Let's see if I can share that. Okay, everybody see that okay?
Yeah, very well.
Oh, wonderful. All right, so here we are. We're down in the backyard of 56A, looking towards house number 56 right there. And of course, nearest the water. We do want to make sure that we're going to do our best to stabilize the bank condition at this location. The grass has a firm, but certainly temporary hold upon some of the wave conditions in the summertime. And we can see the remnants of a timber wall in this area. Floodplain will essentially traces just about to the top of that topographic break. As we'll see in some pictures, we've got some active erosion of this level trying to become one with the lake. There are two mature trees about 2 feet in diameter. One is shown right there. Let's see if the next one. Oh, we'll get back to that next tree in just a moment. That need to be taken down as part of this project. I'm afraid that there's just too much deterioration under the existing condition, as well as too much root zone disturbance proposed to allow them to stay. We'll talk about that mitigation as we go through the project as well. Let's flip through. So here we are with, if you will, these steep steps and landings looking down at the corner of the house on the one side with some active erosion concerns in that location. Now on this side, we're going to look at that stairway down to number 56. And these are the smaller retaining walls that are going to be replaced and planting beds to be improved under this project. This is the riprap swale leading down from the driveway. And the next shot shows that if this isn't, if it's something that's not carefully managed, it can become problematic. The applicants indicated that it may have caused some issues in the past. There's a low area right by the house that we'll be touching upon for a drainage contingency to make sure that that doesn't become an impact to the property in the future. Up by the driveway, we're really right at the edge of the 100-foot buffer, but just to make sure we're out there, this section of retaining wall adjacent to the garage, this is the back side of the garage, you're facing Berkshire Avenue, beyond that retaining wall and up above. That part's going to be removed and replaced along with, if you will, the stairways and landings up above. A good shot from down below, looking up at that series, looking at some of the deterioration in the retaining walls up along that eastern side yard. And this is a good picture showing some of that deterioration. And this is right up against the eastern tree, showing the roots that are exposed and the active erosion at that site. Okay, let's dig into some design plans. Well, let me start at the water's edge. Along the bank, we will have a perimeter erosion control barrier, bark and compost-filled log installed and staked in place. Right behind that, as I think the Commission is very familiar with, we are proposing to have a corrugated vinyl piling wall installed. That's very low. We could see from that existing conditions picture with the grass there that this is an area we need to be careful how high we bring that. So we're talking in that location about a wall that's just going to be capped with, pardon me, two-by lumber. Essentially, that's what's been used in our calculations, is working down there in the borderland subject to flooding. But that's going to help to stabilize that condition right along bank, right behind the bank, roughly a foot or so behind is what we're proposing. And that's that zigzag line. Within this area, between the slope that you saw and that proposed vinyl piling seawall, we're proposing to have a beach area put in. And this will provide area not only for recreation, but also an opportunity to eliminate some lawn space and attractive area for the geese population. That's going to be right up against the water's edge. So behind that, we have a retaining wall, the stairways coming up. This planting bed right along here is proposed to have a minimum of 24 5-gallon minimum native woody perennial shrubs installed. Owing to the nature of these very dense and tightly constructed residential sites, we propose to have that be an item that is coordinated and submitted to the Commission for approval prior to construction. Given that really the horticultural component of this is something that's going to be managed between the owner and the contractor when they come to that level. So just beyond, if you will, this planting area, we have the rear lawn area to remain. That's shown this slightly heavier stippled, lighter stippled program right here. Within that area, we're going to have some permeable pavers. The only new paving at the site that isn't permeable will be landing pads. They're right up against the foundation and right up along the driveway, just for durability concerns and making sure we're not trying to infiltrate water right next to the foundation. There's existing, there are 3-season rooms essentially. They're on sonotubes, a porch perhaps that's been improved over the years. That's going to be taken off as part of the residential renovation project. We'll put a proper foundation under that part right there. Stairways leading up to deck areas with stone and fabric below, stairs leading up to successive levels of the deck, and then finally the driveway. These gray areas are all planting beds. This houndstooth stipple pattern represents places where we're going to be having to use erosion control blanketing to help get everything stabilized within these planting beds after the construction. You can see the 3 retaining walls up against the stairway at 56, as we mentioned earlier. And the roof leaders will gather and discharge the stone splash pads. And the topography, some micrograding to bring them down to stone wedges along the edge of the lower retaining wall. Lastly, the driveway is subject to some top dressing of material, but I think the more important thing is to correct some of the drainage at this location so that we have an opportunity to capture the runoff and sediment that settle out before the runoff then travels down that riprap soil that you mentioned. And that riprap soil we'll reconstruct and get some proper stone as well as fabric underneath. Cross section for that will indicate that we have a little bit of a baffle as a service area. It's essentially subject to regular maintenance throughout the seasons. That baffle right there, 3/4 inch wash stone, has the opportunity to take that gravel out of any stormwater coming down that driveway area. And then we have a little bit of infiltration and settling basin just to double check before that water then will travel down the rip pipeline. So walls this site are proposed to be interlocking concrete blocks, safety fences as applicable. That's the big picture. I've rattled on long enough. You've been very patient. I could answer any questions you might have. Just
impressive.
Yeah,
I can talk that long, right?
I think that'll be a nice improvement for that site. It's I would say in need of the repairs. Anybody have any questions or concerns?
What's the time frame on this, John?
The goal is to get construction underway this spring. We'd like this to be a 2021 project. We are before the Board of Appeals at this time as well. So if we'd like to set up a site visit, we're happy to entertain them.
This is Brian. I got a question on the tree removal.
Sure.
Is there a second opinion or anything if those trees really need to be taken out? I mean, there's no real photographs or documentation of, we saw some root issues, but I'm just questioning that. And second thing is the maintenance on those swales, will that be in the order of conditions?
So I'll answer the second question first. It'd be a shorter one. I think we'd entertain having that be in the order of conditions. I think it's fair to say that this property will be subject to more regular use, let's put it that way. And therefore maintenance, I think, is going to be less of a concern moving forward. For the trees themselves, I certainly would entertain the commission members to come down. Regrettably, well, actually, I should say Dennis had a chance to pop by the site with me in November, maybe it was early December at the time. And there is deterioration to the trees. I think we can see there's rot, perhaps that it were an old portion split off. And certainly the root zone disturbance just isn't something that can be tolerated with the stabilization and improvement efforts that are trying to be undertaken here. I'm not a fan of taking down beautiful mature vegetation. I think this is, at least from my opinion, a clear case where there are few other alternatives without tremendous expense or risk.
Brian, we have been looking at these trees for a few years now, and they have been getting worse. And I think the bottom line is that you can't do that retaining wall without removing those trees. That's just no way that could happen.
Yeah. How long ago was it, Dennis, she came in to for emergency for the removal? Was that 5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it probably was 5 years ago.
And I mean, they were in fairly tough shape then. But if anybody'd like to go out and take a look at them, that's something we could do.
Well, the thing is that the trees are in rough shape, but for this project to happen, if you tried to leave the trees there and put that retaining wall in, that's not going to work. It'll cut the roots off, and that'll be the end of it right there. So, I mean, if you look at the big picture and see how much improvement there's going to be on the site, I think you'd agree that the removal of those trees would be justified.
Yeah, I mean, the trees aren't dead, so they're not available really for nesting birds within the trees or anything. And there's not a lot of branches on those trees. I'm familiar with the site fairly well. So there's not a lot of shade value to the lake,
it just wasn't considered an emergency.
Second opinion or somebody that knew more about it, because the photographs in John's presentation didn't really talk or show a bunch of that stuff. So you guys we've had issues with those before, then I'm all for it. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean,
we had Randy Brown, the tree warden, take a look at it before, and he didn't call it an emergency because if the trees did fall down, they wouldn't fall in the house. They would have fallen towards the lake. They're leaning over the lake pretty good right now. And you saw the pictures of the roots, and you know me, I'm the last guy on earth that wants to cut down a tree, whether it's alive or dead. But in some cases, there isn't any choice. So
yeah, no, I just want to make sure we're covering everything. That's all. No problem.
Okay.
What kind of tree is it anyway?
Maples.
Maple.
Yep. I don't recall if they were silver or otherwise, but they are maples.
Okay. Thanks.
So I don't know if anybody needs to do a site visit. I think the pictures John took are better than a site visit, especially this time of year.
Exactly. I don't want to take away anybody's opportunity.
Although the snow is melting, so.
Having said that much, Dennis, because of some of the ongoing matters to be addressed with the Board of Appeals, I would end up requesting that this be continued to the 15th.
Okay. So if anybody wanted to go out there, they'd have time to look at it because this is going to be continued anyway, because you're requesting for continuance.
All right. Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the request for continuance. I have a second?
I'll second.
I didn't see who that was. I wasn't quick enough. Who was it?
Me, Brian Drennan.
Brian Drennan, okay. Matt, what are you saying?
Aye.
Jerry Patria?
Aye.
Marissa Cook-Obregon?
Aye.
And Brian Pranka?
Aye.
Okay, so we're continued to March 15th. And if anybody wants to get together and go out and check it out, maybe we can get Dennis to contact John and the owner and we'll make an official visit. Otherwise, we'll see you on the 15th, John.
Sounds good. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a legal ad to read for
Ann Rad.
Ann Rad. Let's see, legal ad, Ann Rad.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Too big.
That. Too big.
Perfect. Well, now still a little big. A little more. A little more. There we go. Perfect. The Southwood Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Law C 131, Section 40, and Southwood Conservation Commission Regulations and Bylaw Chapter 182 and Chapter 450 for an abbreviated notice of resource delineation. Project location is 686 College Highway, map 51, parcel 10, Southwick, Mass. The applicant proposes only the determination of wetland resource area boundaries. The meeting being held right now. Welcome everybody. And is that you, Rob? Hey, welcome.
Hello everyone, Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates again. The property here is 686 College Highway. It's at the corner of Tannery Road and Route 10 and 202. For reference, the Tractor Supply store is here. The subject property we're dealing with is this big farm piece right here. Wrong plan. Okay, so we delineated the entire property, and as stated, we're seeking just the determination of wetland resource areas. We can kind of break it down into 3 different areas. We'll first start with the southerly property. There's an abutting property, I think it's a bank. There's kind of a wet meadow with an interior intermittent stream located off-site. We've delineated that. Wetland flag, D102 through D126. This is a bordering vegetated wetland, and it does have a 100-foot buffer zone that extends onto the subject parcel for this application, which is this one here. The next area is a large isolated area closer to the corner of the two roads. We have the wetland boundary delineated here, this A series, and no inlet or outlet was found, no channelization. So we're deeming this an isolated vegetated wetland. I know in one of Mr. Stinson's comments, he brought up the question of whether or not it was a pond. Due to the vegetation, it was hard to say where the limits, if it was a pond in the interior, would be, where the water level would dictate it being a pond versus a wetland. It kind of has like emergent marsh characteristics within the very inner part of this wetland. However, it would be isolated land subject to flooding due to the volume calculation of the water that would hold. So regardless, the outermost resource area is the isolated wetland under the Southwick Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and that would also have a 100-foot buffer zone around this wetland area. The third area or system is a little more intricate, and it spans that pretty much the whole length of that northeasterly property line. We have it split into two sheets. The first sheet is starting on Tannery Road here. The stream it originates from a culvert beneath Tannery Road, discharges onto the subject property. These two lines here are the banks, or the median to high water line of that perennial stream. Slab Brook is its name. There's an intermittent stream that arises from a subsurface culvert outfall here. So this intermittent stream, BNK1 and BNK100 series, flows in the same direction, and its confluence is approximately right here with the perennial stream. We have a bordering vegetated wetland delineated on both sides, the B series, the C series. The C series fades away off property. The B series meanders back and forth along that, adjacent to that stream. As you head farther down Slab Brook, some beaver activity starts right around here, where the water level fluctuates. So we have the median high water level as a conservative highest extent, pretty much at the base of the slope. There's a large slope or bank that runs this whole length of the field. Switching to the next sheet, the beaver or area activities continue until you hit these very defined farm pond impoundments. I looked at some aerial imagery, and these go way back to at least the 50s, where it looks like these areas were excavated. Some sort of dam was built here, as well as here. There's outlet control structures located at the downstream side of each pond. So per the Riverfront Area statutes of the Wetlands Protection Act, riverfront area ends at the inlet of the pond and then resumes again at the outlet of the pond. So the 200-foot riverfront area boundary is this line shown here, this arced line. We have it going 200 feet parallel with the median high water of Slab Brook until it hits the beginning of the pond, at which point it arcs back on a radius, a 200-foot radius from that point. The water body from that point on is considered a pond and not a perennial stream. So we have it marked as bank with a 100-foot offset. And then as you get to the end of the first pond where the dam is, there's an outlet control point that flows through a culvert into the next pond. So we, let's see, the pond continues to go BNK until the outlet control point here of the second pond. So at that point, the perennial stream resumes again, and that's where we show this 200-foot riverfront area arc originating from. Downstream of that, perennial stream wanders and continues off property. There's another BVW located adjacent to that, this B series. Most of it is off property, but we've shown it just to clarify where the buffer zones lie on the subject property. That hits the main points. I know there's a couple DEP comments, and I'm sure you guys have questions, and probably easier to get a grasp on things with a site visit as well. But happy to answer any questions.
I think I'd definitely like to have a site visit on that, you know, just to get out there and get my bearings on the whole thing.
Are those dams still functioning, Ryan, or are they let go? Or because I know that they haven't been maintained for many years.
It looks like someone, I don't know when, to what, how recent, but it looks like they were breached at some point, but then someone tried repairing them. So they still impound and hold water as a pond. I'm not sure. I think they're located off the property. They're
it's on TJ Welch's property.
Right, is where the actual majority of the dam is. The outlet control structure, it's hard to say which property it's on because this property line is supposed to follow the center line of the stream, but that's no longer there.
Yeah, I see that there was quite a few comments from the DEP, and this is looks fairly complicated. It was I'm not sure what it was before. It's agricultural field, but it's hard. It's very difficult for me to know how to figure out wetlands in a previously agricultural.
So I guess if I can just add, there is a statute or a paragraph under the riverfront area protection or the pond definition of pond, where if a pond is shown on a current USGS mapping, then it is a pond. And both of these farm impoundment areas show up as ponds on the USGS map.
So they're presumed as ponds then?
Correct. I think I have a note, the section's right here. If you, I won't pull it up now, but if you're curious about it, 1058.2.1H.
But I think that, I think it would be in our best interest to at least do a site visit and make sure this is covered, because I believe that the business that is proposing to go in there is going to have a pretty large environmental review. So the amount of acreage are going to be disturbing. So in their best interest also to have this, make sure it's solid.
Yep. Happy to do a site visit with you guys.
Great. Does anybody have a date they'd like to go out, or?
Supposed to get warm out pretty soon.
I know.
Not tomorrow.
No, that's for sure.
Is weekdays or weekends best?
I'm pretty flexible.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Brian, how he feels about the snow cover right now. Obviously, we want the commission to be able to see the ground plane. Have things melted fairly reasonably, John?
They're starting to, but I think we have some 40 and 50-degree days in the forecast. Maybe another week or so, it might be gone.
Maybe early next week. Does it make sense? Is that good enough time?
How about sending an email out beginning next week, middle next week, and updating us on the snowpack before we schedule?
Sounds like a good idea.
That'd be great.
Okay. All righty.
Morning.
You want morning, Mehmet?
Morning, yeah, we could do a midweek morning. That'd be good.
I'm best on Mondays and Tuesdays. So I'm homeschooling on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
But we'll have Ryan send us out a invitation for when it looks like a good time to go out there and see who's available.
That'd be good.
Okay.
All right.
So they're requesting a continuation, Chris? Are you gonna?
Well, they have to request a continuation because we're not gonna.
You're gonna give it to them?
Well, I don't know.
Yep, we're requesting a continuation to allow for a site visit. to be determined at a later date.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept his request for continuation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Jerry, what do you say?
Aye.
Marissa Cook, Obregon. Marissa, do you, okay. Brian Pranka?
Aye.
And Brian Drennan?
Aye.
Okay. This is unanimous. We grant the continuation.
Thanks, guys.
Ryan or Rob, can you guys hang around for a little bit for the certificate of compliances for the Greens East?
Sure.
Try to explain to the commissioners why there's a dozen or so.
Absolutely.
Requests.
Okay.
You want to get to that now, Chris? Or
You might as well. Looks like we're good to go for those.
Excuse me 1 second. You guys have enough people? Can I excuse myself from the rest of the meeting, or you guys need me?
Sure, you may. We do have enough members tonight for you to do that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
See you, Brian.
Take
Later,
care.
all.
Okay. So request for partial certificate of compliances for the Greens East, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. All right.
Okay, Ryan Nelson from RLA again. We are requesting a partial certificate of compliance of only a select few lots. This is the Greens of Southwick East. Order conditions number 292-0369. The reason for this request is the owner and project proponent is in the process and wants to continue selling some of these individual lots to be built on. A lot of these lots, or all of these lots shown in blue here, are not located within conservation jurisdiction of the wetland resource areas, and therefore don't necessarily pertain to the kind of the work areas that were the focus of this notice of intent or order of conditions. So just I think of a procedural legality of the property transfer. They're looking for these lots to be released from the order of conditions so that they can be built on.
so Ryan, do they need individual certificate of compliances, or can it all be grouped onto one?
That's a good question. I think it could be grouped onto one to make life easier, because you're giving a partial, but as long as you describe in that partial that each lot that's being removed.
Right.
Seems like you could do it as one.
I think that makes the most sense.
Well, you can let us know later on. We just have to make sure if they all need to be signed that we have them all together for the commissioners to sign them. But I think it's, like you say, it's a procedural thing because there is no jurisdictional areas on any of these lots. So I think you could just take one vote on all of them, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. We'll do that. I'll take a motion to grant their partial certificate of compliance on aforementioned lots. Do I have a motion? I will make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian Drennan, second. Mehmet. You're muted, Mehmet.
That's why my motion didn't go through. I made the motion, but nobody heard it. Okay, yes, aye.
Okay, Jerry Patria.
Aye.
Marissa Cook Obregon.
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in. Okay, stormwater permit bylaw changes we talked about, special annual town meeting deadline, April 2nd. Anything on that, Dennis?
Gene, what is that? If anybody
That's
has
if you need if you wanted a warrant article on this town meeting.
No, I don't want one. Our budget hearings, Gene already gave us the lowdown on that. 258 Feeding Hills Road, Dennis told us about that. Annual dock removal variance we talked about. Town hall access meeting protocols. How are we on that now?
We won't have any internal town hall meetings until it's warmer out and I can go out without my jammies on.
Very good. I like that.
It'll be a while. They're actually the last Board of Health meeting, the Southwick has gone from red to yellow, and it looks like it's going even
I'm great.
Heading in a better direction.
Excellent. Excellent.
So it's getting better. Okay. Just an FYI, we already received money for dock and boat permits. We got some of the marinas that sent their money in, and individuals and even people from Connecticut have started sending in their applications.
Okay.
We sent about 370 applications out. Or I said
yes,
about
you did.
Sounds good.
So
I do, and that was
all I got.
My question asking you in the first place, because I heard there was going to be a project coming forward. So,
Norm, got anything else from LMC for us?
No, we're all set.
Wow, I can't believe we made it through the meeting that quick with all that stuff on the agenda. You guys are good.
Any news on the MAC? Are they going to Zoom the MAC, or I'm just trying to put time aside for it if it's going to happen. Personally.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be virtual this year. We'll make sure we get you the link and everything when it comes up.
Are people going?
I'm going to go.
Are you really?
We'll find out and keep you posted on that.
But they don't have a date or anything, huh? Yeah.
I haven't been notified, no.
Yeah.
Gene, have you heard anything about MACC?
No, but you could always go to their website.
That's true.
Yeah.
So they have all the information there. I could contact Lindsay, the person I know at MACC, and see if she's got some current information. Okay?
All right.
I'm looking at it now. Nothing really.
I paid your membership dues, so.
April 6 and 17. It says.
What's the date?
April 6 and 17. Trying to get back to it again. And then it says April 6, 17, registration opens soon. Virtual annual environmental conference.
Sorry about that. I had to take a break.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll contact Lindsay for registration forms.
Nothing else? We can close the hearing, close the meeting.
Well, we're talking about MACC. I'll contact Lindsay for the registration forms. And Chris, I want to ask you something non-conservation commission related.
Sure.
Are you adjourned?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
that. Second, Jerry Patria.
Aye.
Mr. Cook Obregon.
Aye.
Brian Drennan.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
All right.
Okay, those labels.